We continue our tour of the NE10 basketball preview with the women's basketball side at Bentley. C. White joins us. And Coach, before I dive into what lies ahead for you guys this year, I want to look back because you guys went to Greece, which is really cool. So tell me a little bit about the ability to have a foreign tour and what that did for you guys.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I love talking about this. So I'm glad we're starting off with a bang. Um, the opportunity to go anywhere with your team, be it, it's a tournament in Florida or a tournament, anywhere is really special because the bonding that happens that's natural and not, it's beyond surface level of learning about one another and sharing things just naturally because you spend so much time together is the number one thing about team travel. The foreign tour is something that we've never done before, and we've been talking about it a lot. We've got great connections in Greece, so that was definitely where we wanted to go first if we had the ability to go, and even if it was our last. We chose right. This trip was unbelievable. We were able to see some of our alums over there, and then some of our friends that have helped us and helped us with recruiting, and keep that Greek connection alive. Our assistant coach, Christiana Vakolis, has family there and spends all summer there every year. So it was wonderful to be with her grandfather and her uncle and aunts and spend some time. But the biggest thing was, you know, learning the culture, the guided tours, the bike tours, the walking tours. It was just really neat to dive into a different culture and learn and share and to be able to spend 8 days together in just an absolutely beautiful country, a couple of beach days, two great games. I mean, it couldn't have been better. So we had an absolute blast.
It's funny. I told a volleyball player who was from Greece a couple of years ago, you walk around this country and you see an old building. You're like, oh, that was built in 1750. And you go to Greece and you're like, this building was built in one. Uh,
Yeah, and then the building that's below it was built even before that. Like we couldn't believe the ruins. We couldn't believe the villages that were underneath where we were standing. It was just mind blowing. It was awesome.
what's the coolest thing you saw from a historic standpoint?
Sure. Well, we got to climb up to the Parthenon, which was really really neat, and I think it was just unbelievable to know that these structures were created and built by hand. I mean, it's just it just they're so beautiful and they're so massive and they were created by hand and they still to this day look in perfect shape. Um, and the rich tradition and the pride um, of the battles, and the history of the previous battles that they have. Our tour guides were so good and they were so passionate about their history and all that came before them. That was just the neatest part, and our players, they're just so invested in it rather than like, okay, let's get to the beach or let's go, and play the games. Like they had more and more questions and questions, and I just loved watching the education of it all. But I will say that when we recapped the trip, their favorite day and their favorite thing that they did was the 3 island hop. We got on a huge ship, and the 3 island tour was by far everybody's favorite. So
Yeah, those are the things you get to do as a student athlete that really enrich the experience
sure,
big time. I
triple.
could talk to you all day about the Greek tour, but I feel like a lot of coaches would always say, um, from a job standpoint, the best part about it is that you get 10 extra days to practice. So
It's such a
what did you
perk.
learn from that additional
Sure.
time and experience?
We weren't gonna do 10 days, right? So we had a camp and we ran our camp and it was a day camp and it was very small. So it was neat to just have our players teach and coach and be the mentors of these kids at camp. That was cool. To have your freshmen be able to be on campus and work camp and then practice. I think we had maybe 8 practices. We weren't going to overdo it. It was just nice to be able to be together, and that's such a perk for Division 2, where we don't have them in the summer for great reasons. We don't want to. We want them to have a life and a job and internships and just have vacation time too with family. But to have them for those 8 practices was really neat because it sort of feels like you get a little jump um, on your opponents, or a jump on your offense, or a jump on your defense, and you're a little bit ahead of where you would be, and that's a comforting feeling for a coach.
That all helps you try to do something that is not easy to do, and that is repeat as a champion. You guys captured the tournament title a year ago. So not to kick the $1 million question right into your lap, but how do you repeat? How do you do it again?
Sure. I mean, I think you don't think of it. I'm sure it's part of the goals. And everybody in the NE10, they have their goals. You have your team meetings, and that should be a goal on your list, is to not only win the NE10 tournament. I think to be the winner of the regular season is more important than the championship. I think it's harder to have the best record overall playing against these unbelievable coaches and unbelievable teams, day in and day out. I think the big goal is to be, top of the league and number one at the end of the regular season. I think to win the championship is really fun. It's really important. It's part of the goals, that are on, the preseason list. But, it's one step at a time. So how do you repeat it? You take it one day at a time. I mean, if that's all you're thinking about is winning a championship, you're not taking it one day at a time. You're not going to get there.
It's interesting when I look at how you guys accomplished that last year too, and like just looking into minutia of statistics. You played defense, you didn't foul, and you didn't turn the ball over. So it feels like maybe a few times at a Bentley women's basketball practice, fundamentals get stressed. What is it like to be a member of the Bentley women's basketball program? I guess with those numbers in mind.
Sure. Well, you say we play defense. I said it looked like more like a pack line. You said we didn't turn the ball over, and I beg to differ. But statistically, okay, we edged our opponents in some of those categories, so I appreciate that. I think you're striving to be better in everything you do. So you want your defense to be more disruptive. You want it to be more in sync. You need it to be quicker. You need better rotations. I think you've got to get better, especially if you're trying to even compete at that level the next year when everybody wants to win a championship. You got to value the ball. If you don't value every single possession and you think, oh, I'll take care, I hope this gets there, or the last 2 minutes, I'll take care of it then, I won't throw it then. Like, the game's over. You've already lost it. If you don't make those be your points of emphasis every single day in every practice, it's never going to be a point of emphasis when the game's on the line. So yeah, we stress fundamentals every single day. And I'm sure our kids are sick of hearing about the two-handed pass and the fake a pass before you make a pass. But, all that stuff is really, really important, or you're going to get sloppy and you're not going to win a lot of games. So
every year in college basketball, rosters turn over to some degree. So you've always got to find your new identity. As you get set for the start of 2023, who stirs the drink in your mind? And maybe that's not a statistical person. Maybe that's someone that makes you go defensively. Who are a couple of people that are really important in your eyes before the ball tips?
We always talk about our glue. Our glue person is Maggie Whitmore. She's our go-to in so many ways. She's our IQ kid as well. I describe her as the Larry Bird of our team. She's super fundamental. She's brilliant on the court. She's a coach's daughter, and she's her grandfather as well. I mean, she comes from a lineage of coaches, but she just is so versatile, and she does so many things for us that without her, we're not as good. We wouldn't be as good. And she's so humble, and she's such a good teammate, and she's such a good leader that her teammates know that she's the glue, and they know that she's our key component of success. And we talk about it openly in the locker room that she's got to be very, very good for us to be great.
Let's talk about people from Indiana then too, if you're going to mention Larry Bird on me. Ella Thompson, you guys shoot the three really well. She shoots the three really well. What kind of impact does she make for you on the floor?
Yeah, she's just so steady. Just to watch her growth over the past, now going into her 5th year, has been unbelievable. I've never seen such maturity and such growth year after year, and it just keeps happening. Now she's just not only just a dominant scoring force on the floor, her threes, obviously, getting to the basket, dishing the right pass at the right time, and just being a floor general. She's so steady with the ball. And as a head coach, especially as a former point guard, you want your point guard to, when the ball's in her hands, you're not stressed. Your heart's not racing. You're completely confident. You're completely poised. She's got it. and she's had it for 4 years for me. And when she's got the ball in her hands, everybody's calm. We know that we're under control and we're good. So that speaks volumes of who she is as a player, but who she's been as a leader, off the court as a teammate, is also just as instrumental. She's a lead by example, and she doesn't need a lot of words. The way she prepares, the way she practices is very contagious, and our younger players just jump right on board. And she's not staying for one more year to just win a conference championship.
Let me end on that note then. You guys will be successful and accomplish those goals if blank.
Yeah, I think we have lofty goals this year. I think everybody should. If you look in the league, we're surrounded by anybody who could represent this conference in an Elite Eight and a Final Four. But yeah, that's the goal. We want to be the team to represent the NE10. You want to host, the NE10 championships. You want to host the regional championships, and you want to be the team that represents the NE10 in the best light in the Elite Eight and Final Four. And that's the goal this year.
It's good to lay it out from the jump and understand what you guys are shooting for and verbalize it from day one. So C White, best of luck in accomplishing that, and excited to watch you guys roll.